Amen. What it is, this is Dame, and I am your host, and this is By Any Means. Y'all already know the Cash App, man. $ Dean by any means. Y'all know the PayPal at Dean by any means. You can press that heart with the $ at the bottom at any time your heart desires. Please say it with me, y'all. I don't care if you leave $1, $10, $1,000. It is much, much, much appreciated. Hey, y'all want to talk about Brian Norman Sr. and just how he contradicted himself through his whole Devin Haney, Bill Haney thing. Brian Norman Sr. told Bill Haney, "Why do you keep bringing up Jaron Ennis? Jaron Ennis to moved on to 154. Why is you bringing up Jaron Ennis?" Hey, Senior, how about you take some of your own advice, my guy? Because you got 1,000 videos out here, all in the last couple weeks since your son that had that knockout victory, bringing up Jaron Ennis' name as well. How you going to tell Bill to stop bringing up Jaron Ennis' name, but you keep bringing it up? And y'all see why I be on these guys' helmet and ain't nobody talking about it. Look, you want an argument with Devin Haney, but I listen to people and I let people talk that like to talk because you get to see how full of ish they are. You're not taking, your son is not doing what Devin Haney did. Your son didn't take that offer. Your son went, Devin Haney ain't get 3-4 offers sent this way and didn't sign it. And if you ask me, Devin Haney is taking a much bigger risk of losing to your son in Saudi Arabia, who is not as big of a name as Jaron Ennis is. And this is before your son got the knockout with Sasaki. Devin Haney about to go to Saudi Arabia and fight your son. Your son wouldn't even go to Philadelphia for a unification to fight Jaron Ennis in the United States, where his fans could have came and see him fight. You praising Devin Haney for him taking a fight in the whole nine, as you should, because he did something your son wouldn't do. He literally did something your son wouldn't do. So, my guy, if you're gonna tell Bill Haney to not use Jaron Boots Ennis to sit up there and talk about whatever they got going on when it comes to your son, can you please use your own advice? And this is why I be on these dudes' helmet. You're not even taking your own advice. So if you were sincere on what you were saying to Bill Haney, we shouldn't hear you speak on Jaron Ennis either no more, right? Because he's at 154 and he moved on. But let you tell her, you just came out here and said that you was getting your son prepared for Jaron Ennis. What does that matter if you fighting Devin Haney? And then you don't want to know, y'all, why that's a contradiction in what Brian Norman Sr. said? Because Brian Norman Sr. also the same guy that said he didn't want to negotiate with Jaron Ennis. They wanted to focus on the Sasaki fight. So how was you, Senior, getting Junior ready for Jaron Ennis and Sasaki at the same time? But you didn't even want to negotiate with Jaron Ennis. You wanted to focus on the Sasaki fight. Which one is it, sir? Right again. I was right again. Which one is it? It can't be both. I let people talk that like to talk because you get to see how full of ish they are. So if you're going to praise Devin and all of that for him taking the fight, I'm glad, because he did exactly what your son refused to do. Y'all made it hard for Jaron Ennis to fight you. The man gave y'all biggest payday. It was a unification fight. It was literally no reason to not take the fight. Devin Haney didn't do all of that. Him and Bill didn't do all of that. Even if they was capping or not, if they was forced into taking the fight or not, that part doesn't matter. The part is that they took the fight. You was kind of forced to take the Jaron Ennis fight too. You just for the voluntary fight for way less money than you was getting for Jaron Ennis, and you went to Japan to do it. Like, these dads, they gotta stop, bro. You ain't want Devin, you ain't want Bill Haney to bring up Jaron Ennis at all. Meanwhile, you keep going on a press run talking about Jaron Ennis. I don't understand how that works. Can you please take some of your own advice? That's all I'm asking. I think that's fair. I think that's fair to ask Senior to take his own advice that he was trying to give Bill Haney. I think it's fair for Senior to take his own advice when he was talking about Bill Haney list and he didn't want to hear anything else but his son because they wasn't in the weight classes and they wasn't at the division. That applies to Jaron Ennis as well when it comes to your son, sir. And that's just the truth of the matter. Now, you could say whatever you want to say. Oh, we ain't get the money. We ain't blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to say, sir, that part doesn't matter. The fact is, Jaron Ennis is at 154. You was offered a fight. You didn't take it. Devin could come up with a bunch of excuses about why he not taking this fight as well. But he not doing that. Him and Bill not doing what y'all did. And you asked that man to not bring Jaron Ennis up. Can you stop bringing Jaron Ennis up? And you gave your reasons on why you told him to stop bringing Jaron Ennis up. The problem is with that, Senior, that applies to your son as well. They don't believe the stuff that they say they live by, their principles and morals. They do not live by that, clearly. Because if Brian Norman Sr. did live by that, he would say, man, stop talking to me about Jaron Ennis. I don't want to talk about Jaron Ennis until we get to 154. He moved on. We moving on. My son getting the biggest fight in boxing. However you would want to spin it after that. But at least you would be consistent on your message. They not consistent on a message, but he wanted to clown Bill Haney for not being consistent on his message. I don't see how that works. You can't tell the man to do something you're not doing. If you don't want me to break it down in a more simple terms, you can't tell him to do something that you're not doing. If you could bring up Jaron Ennis, so can Bill Haney. They do it to themselves every time, y'all, and I get tired of it. I'm sick of it, bro. And ain't nobody going to talk about it. Ain't nobody going to say it. They're going to be like, yeah, Brian Norman Sr., yeah, tell him to stop bringing up Boots. Meanwhile, he get on Mill City a day after and bring up Boots. How is your son? I just have a question. How is your son getting prepared? How was you getting your son prepared for Jaron Ennis? When you said out your mouth prior to that you wasn't focused on Jaron Ennis, you only wanted to talk about the Sasaki fight, and you was getting your son prepared for that. I ain't know Brian Norman Jr. could fight two people in the same night. Why would you be getting your son ready for a fight that y'all didn't even take? And you said you had no interest in even talking about it or negotiating the fight for it until you was done with that fight. That makes zero sense. But if Bill came out here and said something like that, like he was focused on Shakur Stevenson, he was focused on Gervonta Davis, you know what you said? You want to know what you said, Senior? That he was using that to get out of a fight. Seemed like you used the same thing to get out of the Jaron Ennis fight. Just my observation. Don't get mad at me, y'all. It's just my observation. That's what the man said. What's good for the goose is good for the duck. What's good for the goose is good for the duck, Senior. And I just be wanting y'all guys to keep the same energy and go with your same message and actually show your principles and your morals. Shout out to y'all for taking a fight, but you cannot criticize Bill for doing some stuff that you doing. And you can't praise Devin Haney without criticizing your son and them for not doing what Devin Haney did. So shout out to Devin Haney for doing what you refused to do. Devin didn't say, I only want to fight him in California. I'm the big star. I don't need to go to Saudi Arabia to fight him. He ain't make Turkey send 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offers. And it's funny how you can get in touch with Turkey for the Devin Haney fight, but you couldn't get in touch with Turkey when it came to the Jaron Ennis fight. You said you stay out of it and you let Top Rank do what they got to do with your son. That's what you said, my guy. You said you're not involved in that part, but you was highly involved in the Bill and the Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr. fight negotiations and getting made. But when it came to the Jaron Ennis part, you ain't had no power. Just pointing out a couple contradictions, y'all. Y'all already know what this is. Ding, by, any means. And I holla at y'all.